right. Hello, everyone. Can everybody hear me or see me? Excellent. Right. So class officially starts at 2:35. So we still have 4 minutes technically. Um, so we'll wait just until 2:35 in order to really get started. But I can say for now, first of all, welcome everybody. I see a lot of new names and some names that I'm familiar with. So, welcome if it's your first time having a class with me. Welcome back if you've taken one of my classes before. The plan for today is simply to go over the course outline. So, we'll go over that in detail. We're not going to get into any of the learning materials until next time. And even then, we'll keep it reasonably light. That said, yes, welcome everyone. I will give a proper introduction, for myself in the course once everybody's here. In the meantime, how are you all doing? Well, I hope. I hope you all made it through, the exam period, with relatively little stress. Yes, spring is here. That's right. It's been a little while since I've delivered a course online. Actually, all of my courses last term were delivered in person. So, yeah, this is actually, I've kind of got to get back into the swing of things in terms of delivering material online. But the spring weather certainly helps. All right. Oh, yes. Well, I will actually show you how to find the syllabus. Once I share my screen. Which I suppose I guess I could do that now, couldn't I? Okay. So now everybody should be able to see my laptop screen. And yeah, once we hit 2:35, I'll make sure that everybody knows where to find the syllabus. Until then, I'll just pull up the Brightspace page. I understand there was a little bit of a hiccup with this, actually. A few students reached out to me, and actually the departmental admin, Lauren, reached out to me as well. Um, the Brightspace module was supposed to go live like at midnight, like today, so 12:01 a.m. or something like that. Supposed to automatically go live. For some reason, it didn't. So that's why a few of you seem to not be able to see anything for a little bit. But people reached out to me. I made sure it was active. So now everybody should at least be able to get onto the Brightspace page. So luckily that's been resolved. I think it's probably just because it's the first day of class and servers are getting a little overwhelmed. Yeah, but don't worry. A few students told me what the issue was. It looks like everything's working now. I was a bit panicked too because I thought, well, that's where the links to the Zoom meetings are. So I hope I hope it's not a severe issue, but it looks like it wasn't. So, but now that it's 2:35, we can officially begin. Right. So, welcome again, everyone, to Philosophy of the Paranormal. I am Dr. Josh Redstone. I teach in the philosophy department primarily. Used to teach a little bit in cognitive science as well, but these days they're mostly keeping me over in Patterson Hall, where I teach in the philosophy department. I have a bachelor's degree in philosophy, a master's degree in philosophy, and my PhD is in cognitive science. So that's a little bit about my background. I did my master's and PhD at Carleton. And when I was doing my bachelor's degree, I did that at Nipissing University in North Bay. North Bay is actually where I'm broadcasting from now, because I've gone back home for a little bit, just to well, not to unwind, but to visit, while also getting work done. Um, I guess, well, what should I say? Well, let's show you all how to make sure you can access the syllabus. So you're on the Brightspace page, like so. You can see my screen here. All you have to do is go to content right here. So click on content, and you will find the course table of contents right here. And if you go up to the very top, right below this search bar where it says course details, you just click there and you'll see this welcome message and you can scroll down and find the course outline. So that is where you can find that. I'll bring up the copy that I have of the course outline here. Just a couple little quick things about the course schedule, which I'm sure you'll all already be aware of. We're meeting on Mondays and Wednesdays at starting at 2:35. Typical lectures will be 3 hours with a break in the middle. So about halfway through, we usually pause for a 10 or 15-minute break. I'll pause the recording of the lecture. Everybody can go and refresh themselves if they need to. Then we'll come back and resume and finish up at 5:25. Unless, of course, we run out of material. This doesn't happen too often, but sometimes we do actually get through everything reasonably quickly and we can finish early. But I think for the most part, we'll probably be using the full 3 hours minus our break because this is a sort of class that tends to elicit a lot of discussion, which I like, which is, in fact, quite nice when you're teaching online. It can be hard to get people to participate in discussion um, when we are um, online. Sorry, I'm just making sure the live transcript is available. I realize that I should be doing that for accessibility reasons. So, okay, there we go. Actually, if someone can confirm, can you see on the screen any captions or transcriptions? Okay, perfect. Good, good. I just want to make sure that that's working. Very good. I think I've selected it. So as long as that's working, we're good. Okay. And now my phone is going off. Anyway, let's ignore that. So, um, yes, as I said, I will be your instructor. I have a background in not only philosophy, but cognitive science. This is how you can get a hold of me. Use my Carleton email. You can use the Discord server for certain things, and I'll clarify when I think communications should go through the Discord server. Most of your communications with me should go through the from your Carleton email to mine, but I'll say more about that in a moment. We have two teaching assistants who will be working in this class. We have Jack and Zainab. Um, if you want to reach out to either of them, maybe just to introduce yourselves, or if you have questions about a grade you've received, I've placed their contact information here. But now for the important stuff, what this class is about. I'll read you the course description. In this class, we will critically examine claims, concepts, and theories related to the paranormal. That is, phenomena which purportedly lie outside of the realm of everyday experience and or scientific explanation. Now, next time, I'll spend, well, pretty much the whole lecture discussing what exactly the paranormal is. Broadly speaking, it refers, as I say in this description, to phenomena which seem to lie either outside of our everyday experience or scientific explanation, or possibly both. But there is a lot of overlap um, when it comes to paranormal phenomena, in the sense that some phenomena we classify as paranormal could also be classified as supernatural, and others as merely unusual or anomalous. You know, the paranormal is kind of like an umbrella term, and it can refer to anything from, I don't know, ghosts extrasensory perception, things like that on the one hand, to aliens and UFOs. And those are, claims of encounters with ghosts or ESP, and claims of, I don't know, having been abducted by aliens or having seen a UFO are claims about quite different kinds of things, as we'll see as we make our way through the material. So I'll devote quite a bit of discussion to just exactly what we mean by the paranormal, beginning next time. To continue, using an interdisciplinary approach, we will examine the scientific character, oops, there's a typo there, of paranormal phenomena, in addition to their relation to philosophical questions surrounding human nature, thought, perception, and reality. So we're getting pretty interdisciplinary in this class. We don't just want to, we're not just exploring things like, the difference between science and pseudoscience, which will be a big theme in this class. But we're also looking at how claims about paranormal phenomena, if those phenomena were to, turn out to be real, what implications would that have for answering these philosophical questions, right? As you'll see as we make our way through the material, actually quite a lot. So such phenomena that we'll cover will include the kinds of things that were typically studied by parapsychologists. And again, I'll say more about parapsychology next time. But parapsychology essentially it's kind of a defunct enterprise now. But parapsychology in its heyday was the attempt to scientifically study psi phenomena. And what I mean by that are things like extrasensory perception and telekinesis. Um, Parapsychology nowadays is characterized as a pseudoscience, and I think the reasons for that are actually pretty good. Um, but I do think at the same time, and we'll get into this when we talk about ESP and PK, I do think that parapsychology emerged as an honest effort to understand not real phenomena, but phenomena which people earnestly believed were there, were phenomena that really were worthy of scientific study because it emerged from this sort of spiritualist tradition in the 19th century and early 20th century. It was in many ways, a ways to make the spiritualist movement. Again, things we'll cover next time, like the Society for Psychical Research in the United Kingdom in the 19th century. Um, the introduction of parapsychology was really aimed at making this more scientific, but it's really turned out that there's not much there for parapsychology to do. And parapsychology is also kind of not it never really got more scientific in the way that other areas of psychology have over the decades. So, but enough about that. I don't want to get ahead of myself. After we cover uh, the parapsychological stuff, we'll start to move on to other phenomena that are categorized as paranormal. So we'll look at all kinds of stuff. We'll look at UFOs, we'll look at astrology, we'll look at alien abductions, we'll look at ghost hunting, mediumship, etc. And there will also be an opportunity for you to all have a say in some of the materials that we cover toward the end of the class. And I'll say more about that momentarily. You'll all be very happy to know that there is no required textbook for this class. I provide all of the readings on Brightspace. Not all of the readings have been uploaded just yet, but everything that you'll need in terms of learning materials will be available on Brightspace. So you don't have to drop lots of money on a textbook or anything. When it comes to accessing the materials, I think you all know the score, right? This is a second year course, so if you don't know how to use Brightspace by now, well, I don't know if I can help you, but I'm sure that you all know how to use it and you're all familiar with it, navigating it. You'll find everything on Brightspace that you need for this class. You'll find links to our Zoom lectures. I record these lectures and I upload them to my YouTube channel, so you'll be able to access the recordings in case you want to review anything or if you can't attend a live lecture. Yeah, readings, other things, all your assignments, it's all there. It's all there. Um, and of course, um, you can optionally participate in the Discord server as well. I'll say more about the Discord server in a moment, but there is a link to join it here, and there's also a link on Brightspace. I'll show you around Brightspace a little bit more as we go. Just going down here, this is a breakdown of your term work. So we'll go over this, and then I'll tell you a little bit more about each assignment in turn, and then we'll go back to the lecture schedule. So I've got a couple participation elements, each of which is worth 5%. I've actually already got a couple questions about what this will entail. This is not about attendance or anything like that. No, actually, what I'm going to have you do, if you want, this is optional, is complete a couple of surveys regarding belief in the paranormal. I'll explain a little bit more about what those surveys will entail in a moment. You'll also have to write a couple of reflection assignments. Think of these as like little mini essays. For these assignments, you will need to submit proof of work. So basically drafts, earlier drafts of your reflection assignments. I'll say more about that shortly. You will have an essay proposal where you will propose a topic for your final research essay. And then, of course, said research essay, which really is like a take-home final exam. So you write a proposal. I will give you instructions on how to approach the proposal and the essay. So don't worry about that. You won't have to go in blind, right? You'll have a pretty good idea of what each assignment calls for. I give instructions in the form of a video lecture. I can put a rubric together if everybody would find that helpful, et cetera, right? So you write the proposal, and then I mark it, or Jack or Zainab marks it. We give you feedback, and then you take that proposal, you take our feedback, and you turn that into the beginning of your research essay. The research essay, because it's the final take-home exam, I can make it due on the last day of the exam period. So you have lots of time from when you get your feedback returned to you, which will be before the end of class. You have from then all the way until the last day of the exam period to complete your essay. So not too bad. And you can find the breakdown of everything here and the due dates for everything here. So let's go past the lecture schedule for a moment and talk about all of the little components of the course. So obviously, probably the most important one will be our lectures, which, as I've already said, Mondays and Wednesdays, 2:35 to 5:25 p.m. They will all take place over Zoom. You want to make sure you're logged in with your My Carleton One credentials. But if you're not able to be here for the live lecture, that's no problem. Um, I understand that some students work, right? So those students have schedules where maybe they'll never be able to attend a live lecture. That's okay. You can watch the recordings. Maybe you've got an extracurricular activity or a personal emergency, or you're sick or whatever. You can't attend one of the lectures. No problem. You can watch the lectures that have been posted to YouTube. Generally, I post right away. So as soon as we're done, I get I edit what I need to, maybe cut off a little bit of the beginning and the end of the lecture just to make it a little bit neater, and then I upload it to my YouTube channel. And there's a link here. There's also a link on Brightspace, and I will link to the individual videos right below the Zoom links on Brightspace. Sometimes it might take me a little bit longer. I might not get it done right away, but you can rest assured that all lectures will be available no later than 48 hours after they've been held over Zoom. We'll be covering all of this right up until week 6, where we have the special topics, and I've put a little asterisk there, special topics part 1 and 2, because I think I would like to give you all the opportunity to have a say in what those special topics are. Um, so I'll create a poll, and you can vote in that poll on your favorite topic, your favorite prospective topic or topics. Now, some of the interesting ones we've done in the past are things like cryptozoology, right? Cryptozoology is actually a fun one. Um, for cryptozoology, we talk about Bigfoot, right? Or I suppose I could do a different cryptid, right? A cryptid is well, it's better to, I think, illustrate what a cryptid is using examples. So cryptids are like, Bigfoot, Sasquatch, Loch Ness Monster, Abominable Snowman, all of those. These are really creatures um, that come down to us from folklore, from legend or myth, or perhaps the distant past, which are purported to still exist. So I've just happened to talk about Bigfoot a lot whenever this is chosen, because Bigfoot is actually a really interesting example of how you know of how how do I put this? It's a really interesting example of how something of how a cryptid can go viral. Because that's essentially what happened with Bigfoot. It started as very likely a joke, and just went international. Um, so we'll talk about that if we choose that topic. I've talked about witchcraft in the context of placebo trials. Interestingly enough, we had a very interesting lecture on how some of the first placebo trials were used in investigations into accusations of witchcraft. So that's a fun one we've done before. Last summer, we did Satanic Panic. I did that because well, for a few different reasons, but I guess the main one was because the Summer Olympics were held, and there were a number of things that took place during the opening ceremonies, which seemed to elicit a sort of satanic panic on the internet. Those two things were the drag performers who did the what was it? The Feast of Dionysus, and Gojira's performance of a song that was based on a song that goes all the way back to the French Revolution. So they had these beheaded aristocrats and fire shooting everywhere. And anyway, Satanic Panic. So we use that as a sort of springboard to talk about the Satanic Panic that occurred in the 80s. Again, a lot of, uh, worries over things like heavy metal music and Dungeons and Dragons and those sorts of things sort of elicited a satanic panic. Together with a book called Michelle Remembers, which was about the recovered memories of a woman recovered by her husband slash psychotherapist. Um, and according to these recovered memories, she had been abducted into some kind of satanic cult. And all of this kind of created a perfect storm where we had a little bit of a satanic panic in the 80s. I've talked about dreams and out of body experiences, which very interesting because we all have dreams. And weird stuff can happen during the night when we're sleeping. We can have lucid dreams. We can have out of body experiences. We can experience sleep paralysis, which a lot of purported encounters with aliens or with demons, like sleep paralysis demons. They occur during episodes of sleep paralysis. So that's just some examples of what we've covered. Of course, we can choose from other topics besides these as well. So I'll probably include all of these topics, and I'll probably take your suggestions if you have any suggestions of interesting topics to cover. Could be things like deja vu, the Mandela effect, stuff like that. If you want to make a suggestion like that, let me know, and I'll make sure to include that in amongst the options in the poll that you can vote for. Office hours. Office hours will take place by appointment. because, well, I'm out of town at the moment, but even when I'm back in town, um, I just think it's easier to meet over Zoom. Not that I won't meet with you in person if you want to, and if I'm available, I absolutely will. Um, but either way, we'll be doing it by appointment. So if you need to meet with me, just send me an email and we'll set something up. And whether that's online or in person will depend on whatever's easier. You can join the class Discord server if you want to. All you have to do is make sure you have the Discord app installed on your device, your phone, your computer, whatever. Download that, create an account, and click this link or click the link in the helpful materials module on Brightspace, and that'll take you right to the Discord server. On the Discord server, I have different text channels for each of my courses. And so you'll find one called Philosophy of the Paranormal, and you can just hop into that text channel, and that is where the discussion will happen. It's a really good way to just chit chat amongst yourselves, get to know one another, offer study tips. I encourage people to do a kind of peer review using Discord. So what you can do, like when you're working on your essays, for example, I think it's really neat when students read and comment on each other's work, right? So you're writing your essay, you want someone to proofread it. Reach out on the Discord server. Hey, somebody want to proofread my essay and I'll proofread yours. The Discord server is a great way to talk amongst yourselves for stuff like that. And I do encourage that, by the way, because it's not technically peer review, but peer review is part of the scholarly process. And so, um, if you want to do that, sort of a tit for tat arrangement, you scratch my back, I scratch yours, only editing papers instead of scratching backs. Use the Discord server to do that. You can ask me questions on the server, but everything official needs to go through your Carleton email account. So if you're, asking me like for an extension on an assignment, maybe you're sick, you're like, Professor, I need an extra couple of days because I got the flu. Okay, but that has to go through your Carleton email to my Carleton email, not the Discord server, right? Okay, let me tell you a little bit more about the participation elements. So, participation elements. Each one will be worth 5% for a total of 10%. And I've mentioned that they're surveys. Basically, what we're going to be doing is something similar to what Jones and Zusne do in their paper, Teaching Anomalistic Psychology, which we'll be reading for our next class. Because I want to kind of explain the difference between parapsychology and anomalistic psychology to you. And I think their paper is a good way to do that. But in that paper, they actually look at belief change over the course of, taking a class a lot like this one. And I'm curious how your beliefs will change. Will you believe in the paranormal more? Will you believe less? Will you become more skeptical or less skeptical? Will your understanding of paranormal phenomena change? I hope it does. I hope you understand them better as we make our way through the course. But I think this would be a neat way to kind of look at things quantitatively. Now, it's completely optional. You don't have to do this, but if you do, you will earn up to 10% if you complete both surveys. The data will be completely anonymous. This is not a real research study, right? So I'm not going to use your data for any publications or anything like that. It's not that. It's just an optional way for all of us to understand how our beliefs in and understanding of paranormal and anomalous phenomena change with exposure to some education about those topics. That's all it is. And if you participate, you can earn some marks, right? And I do encourage you to participate, right? If you had otherwise gotten, I don't know, like an A, so in the, an A minus or an A, like in the 80 to 89 range, and then you do this and you bump your marks up into the 90s range, then that's an A plus. So that's an easy way to earn a good chunk of the mark for this class. And again, there's no worry about your data. Everything is going to be anonymous. Um, nothing is going to be done with this data besides our little analysis in this class. What else was I going to say? I guess that's it. Um, no, good question, Maddie. No, it won't happen during class time. In fact, I might even extend the deadline a little bit because I'll tell you the truth, I'm actually still marking stuff from last semester. So many essays. Uh, so I'm marking a lot, getting all that done. So I haven't set the survey up yet. So you know what? I might just make it, I might just extend that deadline a little bit. Maybe I'll give you the weekend. You'll be able to access the surveys. Well, I'll show you where actually. It's on Brightspace, but I've created modules on Brightspace for the participation elements, and you'll find them there. And I'll show you how to find those. But they're not, the surveys are not there yet. The modules are, but the surveys aren't. Um, so that's it for the participation element. I'm also going to have you do the aforementioned reflection assignments. So each of these is worth 15% of your grade. So a total of 30%. The first one is going to be due on May 9th, the second on June 16th, each at 11:59 p.m. And these are like mini essays, right? Aim for 500 to 750 words. And you will have to reflect on well, the content of this class, right? So for the first reflection assignment, what I want you to do is tell me whether you have had an experience that you could consider paranormal or anomalous. So what do I mean by anomalous? I've already talked about the paranormal. Anomalous means something similar. Basically, the reason I'm following Jones and Zusne in making this distinction, but when we talk about the paranormal, we're talking about things which lie beyond scientific explanation or everyday experience. And the reason they lie beyond scientific explanation is because, by and large, um, proponents of the paranormal, parapsychologists and so forth, tend to say that paranormal phenomena violate the limiting principles of naturalism or physicalism. So things like causes preceding effects or the causal closure of the physical. And again, don't worry if you don't understand what any of this means. That's okay. We're going to talk about it next time. But the paranormal is supposed to violate these limiting principles. Think of the like telepathy, right? Like the idea that I can receive thoughts from someone else via some extrasensory motor means. That violates these principles of naturalism. Anomalous stuff is weird and spooky, kind of like the paranormal. But on anomalistic psychology, we don't view those phenomena as violating the principles of naturalism. So, in other words, some weird, spooky stuff happened, but there's a naturalistic explanation for it, right? So, you can talk about either of those. If you're maybe more of a believer in the paranormal, you might use language that reflects, terms like paranormal. If you're more of a skeptic, you might use anomalous or anomalies, right? Oh, is it? Oh, then May 6th will be the correct one. Thank you for pointing that out, Michelle. Yeah, May 16th. Or what have I got up here? Oh, I see what happened. I accidentally put the participation element due date there. Yeah. So that is May 16th. Let's just change that and then I'll re-upload this. Okay, so May 16th is the correct date. So yeah, for the first one, what you're going to do is tell me if you've had a paranormal or anomalous experience and tell me how that has shaped your attitudes toward the paranormal or the anomalous, whether that's belief or skepticism, right? Um, and by the way, I feel like I should say no judgment. If you're a believer, that's cool. I'm not here to say, oh, all your beliefs are wrong and you're silly for believing in the paranormal. No, 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 no. That's not what I'm doing here. And if you're a skeptic, you should be nice. Okay. No flame wars, no Reddit debates, right? Nothing like that. But no judgment either way. Um, so what will you do if you haven't had an experience that's paranormal or anomalous? Well, I think you can think of something. I think you can think of something because again, the paranormal is kind of like an umbrella term, right? I'm a skeptic, but maybe I've had an experience that some might consider paranormal, like a sleep paralysis episode, right? That would be good. Maybe you believe you saw something strange in the sky, like a UFO. Maybe it wasn't really an alien spacecraft, but maybe for a minute you were like, what was that? Maybe for a little bit it gives you that weird kind of uncanny feeling that you've seen something that doesn't compute. That's paranormal, that's anomalous. You can talk about that, right? Or maybe if you haven't experienced any paranormal phenomena, talk about that. Like, oh, I haven't experienced any, but I think it would be neat, right? Like I've always said in previous iterations of this class, there are those challenges, spend a night in a haunted house kind of thing. I don't believe in ghosts personally, but I would love to spend the night in a haunted house. I think that would be cool. So you could talk about maybe hypothetically doing something and your reasons for wanting maybe to have that experience, right? Basically, just tell me about some experiences that have shaped your attitudes towards the kinds of things that we'll be looking at in this class. And I'll provide you with a template for this assignment, just to keep things kind of straight, kind of oriented. For the second one, I would like you to choose one paranormal phenomenon, one that we've covered in class, or perhaps one that we haven't, and offer me a philosophical analysis. Now, you have to choose a different topic than the one you'll choose for your final paper. That's really the only caveat. So if you're writing your final paper on extrasensory perception, then you can't write your second reflection assignment on extrasensory perception. You have to pick a different one. Other than that, I just want you to analyze it. You could give a metaphysical analysis, an epistemological analysis, an ethical or an aesthetic analysis, right? Up to you, right? So you could talk about the metaphysics of ghosts, right? If ghosts were real, would that imply substance dualism, right? Seems like it would. Or flip it around. Maybe you're a substance monist. Maybe you're a physicalist. So you could talk about how, well, there can't be ghosts because, how would that work on physicalism, right? Something like that. You can deal with epistemological questions, right? What is it possible to know? If there are paranormal phenomena, and these phenomena really lie sort of outside of the bounds of science, then what is it? How is it possible to know anything about them? When it comes to the ethics, the ethical stuff, I mean, what are the ethics of being a psychic medium, right? Or um, the aesthetic stuff. You could talk about the aesthetics of the paranormal. Why are certain environments kind of frightening or spooky or uncanny, right? When you see haunted houses in movies, they're always kind of like old, a little bit run down. Oftentimes, the architecture is Edwardian or Victorian. Why is that? Why do we associate that? Why is Norman Bates's house so creepy, right? You could do an analysis like that, right? So there's lots of options open to you. But again, I will give you a template for this just to sort of keep you focused on the point of each of these assignments. And there will be instructions in that template. Oh, that's a good idea. Yeah, Brianna, that's a good suggestion. So if you haven't had an experience, a paranormal experience yourself, maybe you could reflect on someone else's, as long as you think they would be okay with that. Or if you want, you can keep it anonymous, like my friend, and then just give their initials, or my family member, blah, and just state that it's a family member without um, specifying who exactly it is, right? Just in case. But yeah, that would be fine. Um, but yeah, there are a lot of phenomena you can choose from. Again, even just a weird dream, right? Dreams are really interesting, and if we do this a special topics lecture on dreams, we'll talk about this. But dreams are a really interesting example of something that used to be regarded almost 100% as either spiritual or divine, right? Dreams in ancient Greece, right? Dreams were sent by the Oneiroi, right? The gods of dreams, right? So each dream was like a little god, but they were sent by the Oneiroi, who were sort of like three gods who would send dreams, right? Let's see if I can remember uh, who they were. We had Morpheus, who was like the king of dreams. His dreams were designed to reveal truth. There was, I think, Fovator, whose dreams were like frightening, like nightmares, and then Phantasos, whose dreams were like represented your desires, right? Um, if you read, some of the books in the Old Testament in the Bible, right? There's there are parts in certain of those books that talk about the prophetic nature of dreams. So Daniel, right, interprets the dreams of, I think, King Nebuchadnezzar. Um, right, that's one example. Um, so in a lot of cultures, we used to understand dreams almost exclusively as spiritual or divine or something, right? Nowadays, we understand that they originate within the sleeping brain. We still don't know why we have them, but we know a lot more about how they work. Um, so maybe if you've had a really weird dream or, an episode of sleep paralysis or a lucid dream or something like that, you can talk about that. It might not be paranormal, but it kind of still falls under that umbrella, right? So that's just one example. Right. When it comes to your essay topic proposal, I will actually deliver a whole lecture on how to do this and on how to write your essay. And there will be a template. The template will have instructions. In fact, I've already completed the template for this one. But basically, for your proposal, you're going to aim for something that's 350 to 500 words in length, something that identifies the area of interest for your paper, your thesis or your research question and your intended answer to that question, and a plan of attack. This is all going to be due on June 6th. It's worth 20% of your grade. And again, the idea is you take that feedback that I and the TAs give you and you make the requisite changes to your proposal and you turn that proposal into the start of your final paper. The final paper or the research essay, again, serves as the take-home examination. You'll be handing that in on the last day of the exam period. That's June 26th. It's worth 40% of your grade. I suggest aiming for 1,500 to 1,800 words long. You can write a longer paper than this. You don't have to, though. In fact, I'd like you to stay within the word limit because there are 100 of you in this class, and that's a lot of marking. But if you've really got to write a paper that's 2,000 words long, that's okay. Just make sure there's no repetition. Make sure every paragraph is doing a job to get you from your introduction to your conclusion, to convince the reader of your argument, et cetera, et cetera. But do not, under any circumstances, go under that word limit because that's what'll really hurt you, in terms of your grade. I'll discuss how to select a topic. I'll even give you a list of possible topics. As I said, the TAs and I are going to provide a lot of feedback on your proposals, so I expect that the final essays will be well written, well researched. They should be very concise. They should be citing all the sources properly, et cetera, et cetera. You will be required to submit proof of student work, which again, I think is best done in the form of drafts. And that doesn't just go for the research essay, that also goes for your reflection assignments. I don't have you do it for the proposal. So when it comes to the proposal, you're on the honor system to not use any generative AI or anything like that, right? But when it comes to the research essay and the reflection assignments, you will have to submit proof of student work. And how you should do that is you should save multiple drafts of your work as you're working on it. So draft one, Maybe you're working on your essay. You've started to turn your proposal into your essay. So after the first week of working on that, you save that. That's draft one. Then at the end of week two, and you've done a little more work, that's draft three, so on and so forth. Or draft two. Save 3 or 4 drafts plus a final draft of the student work, for your essay and for your reflection assignments, and submit those with your final drafts, and that will be taken as proof of student work. Example essays, not really. No, I don't really do that. I am pretty strict about, yes, using AI for that. Yeah. There is not to be any generative AI used in this class, with one exception. You can use generative AI to, bounce some ideas off of it, and come up with a topic. I think that's fine. But if you do that, you have to acknowledge that you've done it. Otherwise, no generative AI is to be used at all. I don't think, I mean, people, I think, are still kind of not really wise to just how big of a plagiarism machine, you know, things like ChatGPT are. So even if you're getting it to rewrite something to help you with grammar or syntax, there is a risk that it might spit out something that it's read somewhere else that you are now not citing. So, yes, I don't encourage that. What I do encourage is to take advantage of the writing center. So, the writing center, you can sit down with somebody, and maybe you can also do this virtually, I'm not sure. But you can sit down with somebody and they will go through your essay with you and give you help with spelling, grammar, punctuation, argumentation, citation, anything you can think of. They can give you help with that. It's better to do it from a human, to do it with the help of a human expert than with generative AI. If the drafts don't change drastically, that's okay, I guess. But like another reason I'm having you do your proof of work this way is because some students sit down and write their paper all in one go, and that is not a good way to write a paper. The drafts kind of discourage you from doing that. So it's okay if your drafts don't change too much, but you need to be saving drafts at points which indicate to me that, you are the one doing the work and you are getting progress done, right, on your essay. So again, this is not a worry for the topic proposal, but for the but for assignments 1 and 2, you can see here, I will provide a template and you will submit proof of student work. And here you will submit proof of student work. You will absolutely have to do that. Failure to submit the required proof of work means an automatic 0. So if I don't get proof of work, I just won't grade it. So make sure you submit proof of student work. Outline might work for one of your drafts, and then the next one could be like you're starting to fill it out, and the next one it's filled out even more, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah. Yeah, like an outline works fine. Yeah, as a first draft. And then second draft, it's a little more filled out. Third draft, more filled out. And the final draft should be the complete, polished, proofread version of your essay. I'd say 3 or 4 drafts, Abby, and then the final draft. And you're going to want to clearly indicate, draft one, draft two, draft three, draft four, final draft, right? I'll make sure to put all of this in the instructions just so that we're all clear on it. I can't really accept the proof. I can't really accept a Google Docs history thing. Just save your drafts to like a PDF file or something. Um, and submit those. As far as style goes, I'll cover this more when I deliver the instructions for the essay, but I do actually encourage the use of APA because I think it's pretty straightforward, but you can use whatever style you want. But I do like APA. Yes, and it'll all be submitted on Brightspace. So you don't even have to put everything in a zip file or anything. In fact, don't do that because then I have to download the zip file and open it up, and it's a whole thing. You can submit multiple files in the Dropbox for all of these assignments. So you can just, highlight, all your drafts in the final draft and drag them all into the Dropbox and put them in there. That's fine. You don't have to do any fancy zipping and unzipping and anything like that. Don't do that because it just makes extra work for the TAs and it's extra work for you too. You don't have to do it. Um, Assignment deferrals. So, those of you who have had a class with me previously know that I am pretty chill. I tend to be rather understanding. Because I know that stuff happens, right? I know that stuff happens. Sometimes you get sick. Sometimes, hopefully not, you lose somebody important to you, a friend, a family member, even a pet. Sometimes you have extracurricular activities. Sometimes you have personal emergencies, like, I don't know, the plumbing explodes in your apartment and your basement's flooding and you can't work on your essay because you got to get the plumber to come over, right? I get it. Maybe your computer breaks. I get it. Stuff happens. If something happens and you need extra time, all I ask is that you reach out to me. Okay, just reach out to me and let me know what's going on as soon as you know you need more time, right? Otherwise, I will penalize late work at 5% per day. So, and that's 5% out of the total grade. So if you would have got a 75 and then you're late one day and you don't tell me why, now you're getting a 70. If you would have got a 70 but you're a day late, now you're getting a 65, right? Unless you let me know. So let me know as soon as you know what's going on, right? Even if it's on the due date, if it's like the reflection assignment is due, but your computer crashed, get out your phone, send me an email like, hey, my computer crashed. I don't have a backup elsewhere. Can I submit this once my computer is fixed? I will say yes. I will. Okay. But just you got to let me know, right? Or yeah, you know what? Hey, Kaya, that's a good one. Jury duty. You can't really do anything about that. Although I think sometimes you can get out of that if you indicate that you are a student. I got out of it once by doing that. I'm not sure if it's still like that, um but yeah, anything, literally anything can happen, right? Oh, good. Yeah. So good to know if you're ever selected for jury duty, show them your proof of enrollment and maybe you can get out of it. Um, yeah, yeah, Mira, that's right. The outline is here. So if you look at my screen, I'll just go back to so if you go to content, I know I'm already here, but I'll do it again just so that everyone can see once more. So if you go to content, you'll see the course table of content here. And right now, we're right at the top. We're at course details. And so it has this welcome message and then it has the outline here. And you can download that. I will update it actually because I found a typo and also a little mistake with that due date. So I'll upload the uh, corrected version. But yeah, that's the assignment deferral policy. And again, like again, I try to be as understanding and accommodating as possible. All I ask is that if you need some sort of accommodation for a deferral, you let me know, right? I could be any number of reasons beyond what I've listed here, right? Some people have maybe I accidentally make a due date on an important religious holiday. Well, just let me know and submit it later. That's fine. But if you don't let me know, you're going to lose 5% per day. The email policy is very important. I've already kind of said everything that I think I really need to say here. All important and or official communications with me should go through your Carleton email account. I generally answer your emails quickly, certainly within 24 hours, but I might not answer you after 5 p.m. or on weekends, unless like it's really an emergency. Like if you email me at 7 in the evening and I'm checking my email and I get that email and you're like, "Oh my God, my computer exploded and I can't submit my essay tomorrow." Okay, yeah, I'll probably answer that email if I'm checking my email, but I can't guarantee that I will be. I won't answer questions if they're not sent from your Carleton email account as well. So that's also important to know. I think this is an important one. Online class conduct policies. Um, this applies to both this online lecture portion of the class and the Discord server. But in order to continue participating in the server and in the lectures, you have to make sure that you're adhering to proper standards of conduct. And again, I've never really had a problem with this, but I know that some students have kind of like private Discord servers. You know, sometimes professors have ones, but students also have their own. And obviously, I can't police what happens there, but there have been instances on some of those servers, where maybe there's a little bit of bullying or something. So when you sign into my Discord server, you will have to read through these policies and acknowledge that you've read them before you can participate. Likewise, I expect that everybody treats each other well in this class. Yeah, if we ask for an extension on the same day and you haven't answered, yeah, I mean, I think that's a safe assumption because I will say yes. So send me that email. Yeah. Another reason I kind of want to reemphasize, the importance of conducting ourselves properly, is because of the nature of what we're talking about, right? Some people have very strong feelings about some of the things that we'll discuss here, right? Some people are really big believers in paranormal phenomena. Um, for some people, it functions in their life or it performs a role similar to, um, other religious or spiritual practices might, right? So it's very important to certain people. Um, okay, so I'll answer the survey question. I think I've answered the survey question, but we'll get back to that. Um, so the reason why I'm saying this is because there are people that are going to have strong feelings either way, right? There are skeptics who are going to be like, well, hopefully not, but there are skeptics out there who might say things like, if you believe in this, you're dumb, right? And I don't want that. I don't want to hear that. Okay, I'm a skeptic, and I'll tell you right now, full disclosure, I do not believe in the paranormal. But I do think that there are interesting anomalous phenomena out there that are worthy of study. That said, I don't think that belief in the paranormal makes you dumb, right? Um, I think that belief in these sorts of things is actually a normal human thing, right? Um, so I'm not going to go all Richard Dawkins on you, is what I'm saying, right? So we're gonna try and tread carefully, right? And also for the believers, right? Don't guffaw at the concerns of the skeptic who is acting in good faith, right? Because it's not all about owning the believers in the paranormal with facts and logic. No, we are genuinely concerned with searching for the truth here, right? A way I like to put this is, you probably know the term safe space, which is kind of one of those, I don't know, the term on its own it is what it is. My classes are meant to be a safe space in a couple of senses, okay? They're a safe space for honest, rational inquiry. And they're also a safe space for human beings to be who they are, to believe what they want to express themselves how they wish to express themselves, right? And so I think taken together, this entails that we all be respectful to one another's views when it comes to the paranormal, whether that's belief in the paranormal or skepticism over paranormal claims. Um, Being respectful while honestly trying to get at the truth, right? And again, I've never really had a problem with this, but I feel like I should say it, right? Just to cover my bases. Okay, plagiarism policy. You can read through this on your own. There's actually a more detailed policy linked in the last page of the proposal. And I'll talk more about how to avoid plagiarism when I give the essay proposal essay writing lecture. But basically, plagiarism is presenting, whether intentionally or not, the ideas, expression of ideas, or work of others as your own. And that includes content generated by generative AI. So read through it here. It's a serious offense. This is what I will say. It's a serious offense, and I cannot deal with it on my own. If I find evidence for academic misconduct, such as plagiarism, that then has to be taken to the chair of the philosophy department, and then the chair of the department has to take that to the dean. And then there will be an investigation. And if you're found to have committed an academic offense, there will be consequences which can range from failing the assignment to failing the course, to having to withdrawing from the course, right? All kinds of stuff. Basically, I have to take it up the chain of command. I cannot deal with it on my own. So just don't plagiarize. And if you're in doubt, ask or cite. If you want to be safe, cite everything, right? I also have a specific policy geared toward um, proof of student work. I've kind of covered some of this already, but I do not want you using ChatGPT or any other generative AI in this class. Do not, just do not, because I will treat that as plagiarism. I will prosecute it as plagiarism. Um, I reserve the right to ask for evidence of your work, right? And that could include notes, rough drafts, video recordings, photocopies, or screenshots of the cover page and first cited page of each reference source, any other materials. Basically, I can ask you for any sort of proof of work I want to. I think that submitting drafts of your work is going to be sufficient, but if there's anything really suspicious going on, I will ask for other kinds of proof. I have that right. I will exercise that right. This is not that I think that everybody is going to just be using ChatGPT and plagiarizing all day long, but you would be surprised, or maybe you wouldn't be surprised, just how many students in online courses like this use ChatGPT. And also, you're not going to get anything past me. I've been doing this long enough that I kind of know when something is written by a human being. In fact, my area of expertise is, um, sort of the human side of AI and human AI interaction. So I'm one of those profs who it's going to be very difficult to sneak anything by. I'll just say that. So don't do that, okay? Because you'll probably get caught. And you don't want an academic misconduct report because that goes on your transcript, right? That goes on your transcript. And that's not going to look very good, right? If you're applying for, grad school or pro school, or even some jobs ask for transcripts when you're applying for jobs. And if there's an academic misconduct report on your transcript, that just doesn't look very good, right? So don't do it. And besides, I'm happy to make myself available to assist you if you need help. I know that a lot of people, if they turn to AI, it's not because they're evil, right? It's because they're stressed, they're overwhelmed, they don't know what to do, and they don't want to fail an assignment. You do not need, I'll tell you this right now, rest assured, you do not need to do that in this class. I will work with you, right? If you're stressed and it feels like everything, the walls are falling in around you and you cannot handle, finishing your assignment, getting it in, tell me and I'll work with you. And I'll even help you get connected with some resources that could help improve your work situation or your mental health, right? So there's no need to resort to cheating in this class. Okay, there are other policies on the last page, but you can read through those on your own. Before we look at the schedule of readings, does anyone have any questions? I think there was a question about the surveys, but those are not up yet. And again, stay tuned for an announcement. I'm very likely going to offer an extension. Um, Because as I said, I've been working like crazy to finish off the grading in my courses for the winter term. So I haven't actually put those surveys together yet. Um, but don't worry, you'll have the chance to complete. Otherwise, are there any questions so far? You can, by the way, you can share your questions in the chat. Oh, it looks like there were some questions and Kaya answered them. That's good. So you can, if you have questions, you can ask in the chat or you can raise your little virtual hand and speak into the microphone. Let's talk about our lecture schedule and our readings. So this is today's lecture, no readings, except I do think you should read over this course outline once or twice. For next time, I've entitled that lecture A Philosopher's Guide to the Anomalous. And I'll just be giving you a little bit of an overview on, well, what the word paranormal actually means. I'll talk a little bit about anomalistic psychology, which is an interesting approach which emerged kind of as a counter to parapsychology. And we're going to read Carl Sagan's chapter here, The Fine Art of Baloney Detection, where we'll talk a little bit about the distinction between science and pseudoscience and how you can equip yourself to tell the difference. Not exactly a scholarly source, but I am a bit of a Carl Sagan fanboy, so um, that should be fun. So make sure you've read all of these before our next class. For week two, we'll be talking about the uncanny. Why? I think that uncanniness is a characteristic, well, it's a characteristic of certain objects, places, people. But it can also refer to a sensation that we can have, like an eerie feeling. Um, and that overlaps quite a lot with the paranormal. And we'll see why. So for week two, we're going to read E.T.A. Hoffman's short story, The Sandman. And then we're going to read Ernst Jentsch's paper on the psychology of the uncanny and Freud's paper, The Uncanny, both of whom refer to Jentsch's short story, which is an excellent illustration of the sort of, I think, overlap between unnatural, supernatural, uncanny, paranormal stuff. So that'll be fun. And of course, that's when your reflection assignment will be due. Again, I'll probably change this. Now I'll give you the weekend to do this, right? So I'll change that. Because we only have one lecture in our third week, I've decided to devote that lecture to our essay proposals and the final essay. So I'll give you instructions on both of those assignments. Then week four, we're going to get really parapsychological. We're going to talk about extrasensory perception and psychokinesis. These are the two sort of things that were studied by parapsychologists. And we're going to talk about mediumship and ghost hunting for the second lecture. So read all of these. These will be available on Brightspace. I haven't posted them yet, but they will be available well before this lecture. And then week five, we're going to talk firstly about astrology and horoscopes, and then about alien abductions and UFOs. So for that, you're going to want to read Forer's paper, where he describes something that's now come to be known as the Forer effect or the Barnum effect, which explains, well, kind of explains a lot of belief in in horoscopes. I'll tell you also a little bit about how astrology is supposed to work. You can supplement that with this nice little episode of Carl Sagan's Cosmos, Harmony of the Worlds, which I'll upload on Brightspace. When it comes to alien abductions and UFOs, I've got more Sagan for you, a chapter and another episode that you can watch. And then after that, we're going to do special topics. So you'll have to make sure that you vote in a poll, which again, I will set up. You'll vote in a poll for your favorite topics, and then I'll lecture on the two most, oh, excuse me, I'll lecture on the two most popular topics. I think for our final meeting, we'll just have a sort of wrap up and discussion to reflect on what we've learned. And I will share the results of the little surveys, and we'll look at how our beliefs have changed. Well, I think that covers that. I'll just show you around the Brightspace page a little bit more. So you can see in the table of contents, this is where all the course modules are. They've all been set up, but not everything is there yet. So you won't find the readings going beyond week 3. There are no readings or PowerPoints posted yet. I will post them this week, but I just haven't had a chance to do that yet. There's also a module here where you will find the links to complete your participation elements. This is where the proposal Dropbox will be, final essay. I also have yet to add a module for your reflection assignments, but those Dropboxes will be in their own module, kind of down toward the bottom here. And the helpful materials module is very, well, helpful, as the name implies. That's where I'll post templates for your work. So I've already got a template for your proposal. I'll have templates for your reflection assignments ready shortly. I've got some links here. So this is a link to Purdue's online writing lab. That's very helpful. Contains every citation guide you could ever want. Link to my YouTube channel where I post lectures. A link to join the Discord server. So Brightspace is mostly set up. Not completely, but it will be completely set up by the end of the week. I think that about covers everything that I wanted to cover. Are there any other questions? All right. Yes. Yes. To the student who sent me the direct message. Yes. Are there any other questions? Anything to do with anything I've said today? All right. Well, maybe you'll think of a question later on. Um, if so, feel free to email me. Yes, yes, the outline. Yeah, people have trouble finding this. So let me share my screen again. So if you can see my screen, follow along here. Um, yes, there will be a minimum amount of sources. Um, but I'll talk about that when the time comes. Okay, so if you want to find the course outline, you go to content and then you go to course details right here, and you'll find a welcome message and you'll scroll down and there's the course outline. The helpful links. Well, they're in the helpful materials module. So you just have to go down here. You go down to, let me make sure my screen shares properly. Okay. So you can go down, well, you can do it this way. You can go all the way down to here, or you can go to content, scroll all the way down and click on helpful materials, and then there's all kinds of links there. Um, if we don't know about the special topics that aren't chosen for class, can we, yeah, like you mean if there's an option there and you're not sure what it is, then yeah, you can reach out to me. I'll try and explain it to you. I also put like a little bit of an explanation in the in the choices, like to kind of contextualize things. But yeah, if you have questions, you can reach out to me. Lena, you've had your hand up there for a bit. Go ahead.
Hi, I just wanted to say it out loud because it felt really weird to type out. But regarding like drafts and things like that, I'm the type of person who edits as the same thing over and over again. So are you saying I should probably like save those like original things before I submit them, for
Yes.
example?
Yeah.
Even if they're really wonky and illegible?
Yeah, that's fine because like I don't mark the proof of work. It's just there to show me that you have in fact done the work, right? So that's all it's for. So if your first draft is like really bad, that's fine. It's not going to affect your mark, right? But yeah, as
Okay,
you edit, save drafts, again, I think 3 or 4 drafts plus the final draft is sufficient for proof of work.
sounds good. Thank you.
No problem. Any other questions? All right. Well, if there are no other questions, that is really all I have for today. Um, so next time we'll talk more about what exactly the paranormal is, what exactly the difference between anomalous psychology and parapsychology is, and we'll equip ourselves with some tools for baloney detection. So I look forward to seeing you all on Wednesday. So, nice to meet you all. See you all next time. Thanks. I'm excited for this too. It's going to be fun. This is a fun class. I think you'll like it. All right. Bye for now, everyone.